Bitcoin pumps past $94,000 today. What happens next? I want to go through the charts with you. And the OCC greenlights national banks to participate in crypto. And the same day, PNC Bank has launched Bitcoin trading for its wealth clients. This is huge news. I'll give you all the details. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, today we saw Bitcoin do some upward price movement here. It wicked up to about 94,000 or over 94,000. That's a good sign. But we knew this was coming, right, folks? Because we've been talking about it for weeks. Bitcoin was oversold, the RSI in the daily. So the opposite direction was the next move. Not to mention we've been in extreme fear sentiment. So the market always does the opposite of the masses or the herd, right? So we also have the MACD showing that bulls are in control on the daily chart. However, we still have work to do here. And I've been cautioning you guys that there could be potential retests of that, $71,000 or $81,000 price point, so a bit of a double bottom, or maybe a little bit lower before we continue, or this continues to move up. I give you guys these scenarios because they're probable scenarios that could happen, and you have to be mentally prepared for them because we don't have a crystal ball and we are looking at the data. We're looking at historical patterns and much more. But overall, this is a good sign. We got higher highs and higher lows forming here. So we're working our way out of the hole. But again, retests could happen before the actual breakout. Now, the other big question for many is this simply a dead cat bounce or relief rally, and then we roll over to lows into the bear market? Or this is the start of the next leg up to new all-time highs? And that's the challenging part to try to figure this out. Now, one of the things we've been highlighting is that despite some of the bearish signals we're seeing on the charts, like the Bitcoin weekly and even the monthly chart, the macro is setting up really well. Tomorrow we're going to hear from the Fed, and we're going to see if they cut rates. Right now, the market's betting that there's going to be a 25 basis point cut. And with quantitative tightening ending, we are starting to see liquidity injections into the markets, Fed doing reverse repo and much more, plus Japan doing stimulus. So other central banks are doing things as well. But we're going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. One of the things we want to keep monitoring is the stock market. So if you look at the S&P 500 here, it has been on the way up, kind of recovering, but it hasn't broken into all-time highs. So we're going to watch things like this as an indicator as to what may happen with crypto, because we know all of these things are correlated to liquidity. And even the Russell, it is, breaking out, and we're waiting to see if, that breaks up, because that could be a big indication for the altcoin market as well. Bitcoin dominance is starting to break down a bit here, but it's a bit too early to call home and say, hey, alts are starting to run yet, right? We got work to do here, folks. So this is where patience is the key. And, in the summer, I was saying the tariff crash at the beginning of the year pushed the bull market timeline. And I said, this thing could bleed into 2026. So let's say we're starting to see Bitcoin recover and then the alts pick up. I think this is going to play out more so in January. I don't think we see this massive pump. We are already in December and we don't have as much time. And yes, some people are going to say Santa rally and all that, but I think the whole timeline has changed here. So let's see what happens, right? Let's see how it all plays out. We're going to have to be patient. Let me share what some different analysts are saying. So analyst Bob Lucas said stocks and Bitcoin have the right cycle set up for this move to finally get some upside momentum going. So the signals are there, RSI, all of the Elliott wave and all the different things and so on and so forth. But again, the big question, is it just a dead cat bounce relief rally, or the big move into new all-time highs? Crypto Wizard says a higher low. The fate of Bitcoin will come from the next swing. Bulls will want a major reversal from here to form a higher low. It will also need to avoid making a lower high. So what we want to see is higher highs and higher lows, right? To keep that stair-step pattern. And we saw that throughout this bull market, right? So remember, the market moves with Bitcoin. The altcoins follow Bitcoin's move. So we need Bitcoin to go to new all-time highs, guys. That's so important, but it's not guaranteed, of course. Here's what Jordy Visser said. The stock market is giving a warning that Bitcoin is about to rally. Pure volume versus pure probability fell hard as Bitcoin fell from 115,000 to 80,000. Now, pure volume versus pure profitability has ripped back to highs in 10 of the last 11 days while Bitcoin is trying to gain its footing. Pure volume versus pure profitability correlated to PMIs over time, higher Bitcoin to come. So let's see. Different folks, certainly calling for a rally, but again, rally that doesn't make new all-time highs gets rejected at certain price points, maybe at 100,000, right? A psychological level and rolls over, or it breaks through, surprises everybody, and continues higher. We're going to have to wait and see, folks. And look, we could get a major announcement from the Fed tomorrow. Let's see, maybe they do 50 basis points cut versus 25, or to give signals of some sort of liquidity injection. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Now, Binance founder CZ says there could be a crypto super cycle in 2026. Now, I don't run around, making my investments based on CZ and the statements he makes. But, he is the founder of the world's largest crypto exchange. And let's see, maybe he might be right. But, again, these are just words. We're going to have to wait and see how it plays out. Now, one of the things I have been highlighting that's positive is that Bitcoin whales are starting to accumulate again based on on-chain data. So wallets of 10 or more Bitcoin are reversing. They were in distribution for the past 2 months, October, November. Now we're starting to see a reversal like we've seen throughout this bull market when there's been corrections and then the continuation. So fingers crossed that this continues, folks. We need this to continue to see those higher highs. And we continue to see digital asset treasury companies continue to buy. Today, 21 Capital, headed up by Jack Mallers, they went public on the New York Stock Exchange. So that was a big moment on Wall Street for crypto. And he went on CNBC and said they're going to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. And in addition, Tom Lee's BitMine, they bought another 400 million in Ethereum. So this is incredible. They've purchased 138,452 ETH since last week, currently worth around $431.97 million. They still have $1 billion in USD left to buy ETH. So they raised billions to buy ETH, and their current holdings altogether is valued at $12.05 billion. So again, read between the lines here. These guys are buying so that the price is going to continue crashing down and they're going to lose value, right? Why would they be buying right now? I think they're anticipating that there's going to be higher prices here. So let's see how it all plays out. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Propy, which is leading the charge of putting real estate on chain. I've been a Propy token holder since 2018. I'm very bullish on this project. When I first came across Propy, I was amazed at what they were doing because they were ahead of the curve in disrupting the real estate market with blockchain. Their platform is powered by blockchain. You can buy and sell real estate on their platform, and you can buy and sell for crypto. So if you want to sell your house for Bitcoin, you can do that on Propy. So it's pretty amazing. And they've been tokenizing real estate in different ways with NFTs, putting deeds on chain. And they've been around since 2017. They facilitated over $5 billion in deals. They use Coinbase for the crypto escrow, the buying and selling of real estate. And like I said, they put a lot of stuff on chain, and they're backed by some big investors like Tim Draper, billionaire investor. He's very bullish. He's been invested for a long time. So I'm a big believer in Propy, guys. We all know real estate will be disrupted by blockchain. The process, the assets themselves, the homes will be tokenized. If you saw my interview with Dan Silverman of Balcony this morning, they talked about putting 240 billion of real estate on the blockchain. So we are seeing that asset class, the world's largest asset class, getting put on chain. So once again, I'm a Propy token holder, very bullish on this project, guys. Check it out. And they're doing some amazing things with blockchain and AI. So go to propy.com if you'd like to learn more. Link will be in the description. Now, folks, here's some very bullish news that came out today from the OCC, which is the regulator which handles, banking license and charters and so forth. So they're the office of the comptroller of the currency, and they have given approval to national banks in the United States to participate in crypto asset transactions as part of the business of banking. Incredible, right? So let me give you some details here. So the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has affirmed that national banks can intermediate cryptocurrency trades as riskless principals without holding the assets on their balance sheets, a move that brings traditional banks a step closer to offering regulated crypto brokerage services. In an interpretive letter released on Tuesday, the regulator said banks may act as principals in a crypto trade with one customer while simultaneously entering an offsetting trade with another, a structure that mirrors riskless principal activity in traditional markets. Here's a quote. Several applicants have discussed how conducting riskless principal crypto asset transactions would benefit their proposed bank's customers and businesses, including by offering additional services in a growing market, notes the document. Folks, this is so bullish. And, we've often talked about it over the years that all the banks, stock exchanges, and big investment firms would adopt crypto. And that day is here. It's pretty incredible. And here's a great example of that. We know Coinbase has been working with JP Morgan, Citibank, and PNC Bank. Well, PNC Bank has become the first to offer some crypto trading here. So Coinbase Institutional, they said today marks a major milestone for institutional crypto adoption. Coinbase's crypto as a service platform is now powering PNC Bank's launch of direct Bitcoin trading for PNC private bank clients, the first market with such an offering among the major US banks. They said here, together we're enabling seamless access to digital assets within trusted financial systems. Incredible news here, folks. And here's what Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, said about the news. Exciting to see more banks embrace crypto like this. PNC private bank clients can now buy, sell, and hold Bitcoin in their existing accounts. PNC is the first major US bank to support this type of offering. Folks, you see what's happening here? The on-ramps being built for liquidity, for capital coming to this market, not just for retail, but for institutional clients. And we've often talked about it. One domino falls, the others are going to follow as well. So expect the other banks are getting ready to do the same thing. Game theory is going to play out here. So very bullish news. And look at this, Bitwise today, they launched their crypto index ETF, which includes multiple coins. And that went live on the New York Stock Exchange ARCA as an ETF, of course. And that ETF includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano, Chainlink, Litecoin, Sui, Avalanche, and Polkadot. So the on-ramps being built for more capital to come into this asset class. Okay, moving ahead, Senator Cynthia Lummis anticipates crypto market structure markup next week. So not the passing of the bill. There's a lot of work to be done here, but we got to go through these different phases, right? But markup would be a big win. So she said our staffs are exhausted and at the Blockchain Association Policy Summit today. And it seems like there's going to be some progress towards the end of the year with the markup. And if they just get that done, that's absolutely fine. So it looks like this bill could pass in Q1. I think late Q1, not early, late Q1 of 2026. And again, that's a major milestone for the crypto market. So would the market makers and the whales let that moment pass, right? When that could bring in tons of liquidity and spark a massive bull run to a blow off top. So this is a question I pose to some of you who think the market has topped. And look, you might be right, but again, we have to look at both scenarios and weigh the probability here. So something to think about. Okay, moving ahead, blockchain trial on the Canton network tests collateral reuse with tokenized US treasuries. So I've been telling you guys to watch a Canton network. Actually, just recently they launched the token on Kraken exchange. I have not bought it yet. I will let you guys know when I do buy it. But this is a project I am bullish on, and I'm watching closely because it's backed by the major Wall Street banks and firms. So 5 transactions were executed in the newest phase, building on the July pilot, which first demonstrated that US Treasuries and USDC stablecoin could be combined to finance and settle transactions on the blockchain. In the latest trial, the companies used multiple stablecoins to finance positions against tokenized US Treasuries, widening the pool of on-chain liquidity available for financial transactions. Very, very interesting, guys. So we are seeing some big names participating with the Canton network. And you could see the direction the puck is heading here. They're all looking to tokenize assets because that will open up 24/7 markets, more liquidity, a global reach, so they can cast a wider net here. That's the future. And you're seeing a lot of building of that happening. Now, RealFinance secures $29 million to build institutional rails for tokenized assets. So, case in point, right, folks? So let me give you the details here. Real world asset tokenization network RealFinance has secured $29 million in private funding to build an infrastructure layer for RWAs, aiming to make it easier for institutions to adopt tokenized assets. The funding round included a $25 million capital commitment from Nimbus Capital, a digital asset investment firm, with additional participation from Magnus Capital and FreeCause Group. The company informed Cointelegraph. RealFinance stated that the funding will be utilized to expand its compliance and operational infrastructure as it develops a full-stack RWA platform. In the near term, the company aims to tokenize $500 million worth of RWAs, a target it says would represent about 2% of today's tokenized asset market. Folks, you see the building that's happening here? These people are not concerned or worried about the bear market or prices being down. They're raising capital, they're building because they have the macro view on this market, and I hope you do as well. Look at this. Speaking of tokenization, Securitize, which is the leading tokenization firm, hires former PayPal exec as U.S. tokenization gains traction. So they hired PayPal executive Jerome Roche as they expand their regulated tokenized securities for U.S. investors. And this builds on fresh approvals in Europe. And we've heard that Securitize is looking to go public. So this is one of the companies I've been mentioning, in addition to Kraken, Grayscale, and others. And they're looking to go public in 2026. So again, who the hell goes public in a bear market when there's no liquidity, right? So these market initiatives plus liquidity, it's not drying up like we've seen in 2022. So something is different here, and we have to take it into consideration, right? Again, I hope that I'm right. I'm not saying that this is a guarantee, but I can look at what has happened in previous bull markets. I can look at the market environment. I can look at all the things that are ahead and say, wait a minute, those aren't bear market activities. Something is different. Final news item here. Circle moves toward privacy-focused stablecoin with USDCx project. So privacy is going to be key for adoption. Not everyone wants their information out there, and it's a smart move by Circle here to build a private version of their USDC stablecoin. So stablecoin issuer Circle is developing a privacy-enhanced version of its US dollar-pegged USDC token, aiming to spur institutional adoption by offering greater confidentiality than traditional public blockchains allow. The new stablecoin called USDCx is targeting banking and enterprise users, is being built in partnership with the privacy-focused blockchain Aleo, Fortune reported on Tuesday. And unlike most existing stablecoins, which have wallet addresses and transaction details fully visible on chain, USDCx is designed to provide banking level privacy. Circle would still be able to provide a compliance record if law enforcement or regulators request information on specific transactions, according to the report. So this is great news, and this will allow for more institutions to adopt stablecoins and crypto because privacy is very important for them. Some of them are building their own private permission blockchain internally, but they're building bridges to the public blockchains. But of course, they don't want certain information out there, which makes sense, right? If it's customer data or, things that would reveal their strategy and their business operations, you obviously don't want that. So we need to make sure there's some level of privacy and that it protects the institutions from that perspective, and that will, once this infrastructure is in place, we're going to see a lot more adoption. So this is certainly going to be a big factor. So smart move by Circle, and you can imagine the other stablecoin issuers are going to do the same thing. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Tomorrow's a big day with the FOMC, so I'll bring you guys the updates, and we'll see what we hear from the Fed, and we'll continue to monitor the macro and see what Bitcoin does. But, as always, the week of the FOMC, expect volatility, right? We could get some bad news and it dumps the market. Just remember that. I think people forget these things, right? That you have to look at different scenarios. We as human beings, we want the absolute answer. We need to know it happens this way. But unfortunately, this is investing, and we have to be smart educated investors and prepare for multiple scenarios. Now, folks, be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital, and my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know about crypto. Folks, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.